You know, in terms of the running game, just the consistency of identifying where we're trying to go and understanding the scheme overall of who we're trying to get blocked. And you know, Coach Venables and the defense, they do a great job of moving personnel and changing personnel, stemming and moving. And I thought they did a really good job of knowing what we're trying to get accomplished. And I think technically, Coach Caldwell's done a great job with those guys technically. And then obviously the big question is the left tackle. You got Mitch Hyatt, who I think has really grown up over the course of camp. He's had the best defensive end in the country to block day in and day out, and Shaq hasn't taken any days off on him. So I think overall just the consistency of understanding the schemes. Technically they've all gotten better, and then we feel pretty good about Mitch at left tackle.
Do y'all have a good idea of your second team? Is that solidified?
You know, it's coming together, and Coach Caldwell's done a really good job of cross-training those guys. So we'll have like, for instance, you got a Taylor Hearn, who was a guy when we came into camp, we didn't think that he was going to be a guy that played on the edge very well, and he was given an opportunity, and he's impressed everybody within the program. And so when you have that ability to play guys at different spots, it helps you on that from a depth standpoint on that second team.
While you want to have Deshaun be a significant option in the run game, rather than having him as a focal point, what's the urgency level there at building a consistent, dependable run game?
Oh, no question. You know, anytime we call a run, first and foremost, we want to get it to the backs. But when you got a guy like Deshaun, you know, he's going to create plays with his legs.
Yeah.
And we understand that. And really it's what the defense gives us, the opportunities. They're going to provide opportunities where he's going to have to be, you know, critical to the running game. Then there's going to be other situations where they're going to work to take the quarterback run away, and so then the back's got to pick up the slack. But the sense of urgency, you know, I coach those guys, so I want them to touch it. I want them to be the workhorses, and then give us the ability to really stress defenses when we do pull the ball down and let Deshaun run it.
You had a lot of circumstances last year where you had second and long, third and long, because you couldn't generate a dependable run game on first and second down. Do you feel that you've made the quantum step to absorb some of that long, second, third, long situation?
You know, I think so, and I think just the quicker throwing game, you know, that you saw a little bit of that in the bowl game with Cole Stout. You know, that's something that helps us stay ahead of the chains. And a big emphasis for us is plus 4 yards on first down, whether it's a handoff or it's a pass. And so we're just looking at trying to gain 4 yards, being efficient on first and second down, so we don't get in long yard situations. So yes, from a running standpoint, we feel like we made progress there. But then also from a passing game standpoint, we got to do things on first and 10 to mix it up so we don't have heavy tendencies, but also understanding and everybody buying into the fact that, hey, we got to have positive yards on first down.
How does the working relationship with Deshaun work? Is it you and Jeff equal? Is one of you closer with him, or do you just leave Brandon to handle most of that?
You know, the quarterback position, obviously you don't want too many voices in his head. And so I let Streeter, me personally, I let Streeter do most of the talking. Now there's going to be situations out on the field where I got to make a comment to Deshaun, but I usually go through Streeter because, again, he needs to hear that one voice. And then obviously Coach Sweeney is the big voice, so he can talk to him at any time. But I don't mess with Deshaun as much because, again, he does an unbelievable job of preparing. He's very smart. He takes pride in his work. But I let that relationship go through Coach Streeter.
Is Davidson still separated as the number 2 guy, or do you see the carry team split pretty evenly after playing?
You know, it's going to be determined once we get closer to the game. But right now I'd say Davidson is in the number 2 spot. And then you got C.J. Fuller, Dye, and then obviously when Zach gets back in the mix, those will be the guys that are chasing him down for that number 2 spot.
Kelly Bryant being named to be a player to be played this year, not to receive a red shirt. What have you seen in Kelly's game that gave you the confidence to pull that red shirt off?
Well, you know, first and foremost, just his athletic ability. You see what he can do with the ball in his hands in space. I think everyone's seen that he's very capable as a runner, but the things that people probably haven't seen is his development as a passer. You know, the ability to command and control the offense and make the right decisions, be able to make the right protection calls, and then technically he's gotten a lot better through his work with Coach Streeter. So just a combination of his ability, and then now he's putting the technical aspect to it.
When you watch Deshaun, is it kind of hard to remember that he's only started 5 games, only been there for a season, just waiting as the offense? Oh
yeah, and it's just a testament to his high school coaches and him and the preparation that he puts in. And you know, he's one of those guys that he's got that it factor. I mean, he's passionate about it. He prepares with purpose. You know, he does a lot of work outside the building on his own. So you see him doing things that you would expect a junior and your senior to do, and he's only started a couple of games, like you said. So it's impressive to watch him work.
Just like guys are ready to come in and play right away. It seems like more quarterbacks are doing that now.
Well, I think it's the high school coaching, and then I think it's on an individual basis too. And you know, you got to give a lot of credit to Deshaun because he's a football junkie. And if you go back and watch him every Sunday, I think he was at the Falcons game as a ball boy, hanging around football. So you saw him coming up just with that passion for the game. And then his coaches did an unbelievable job, and they did a lot of the things in our system at the high school level that helped prepare him once he had committed to Clemson.
Since you and Jeff were named co-coordinators, how fluidly has your relationship developed as far as finding that nice mix as far as working together?
You know, not a whole lot has changed. You know, the friendship was there, the relationship was there, and our focus is the young people and doing what's best for them. So we try to keep our egos out of it. And again, that friendship was there from our times as players. And again, there's a couple things we may disagree on, but at the end of the day, we're going to come back together and do what's best for the offense. And so, you know, it just continues to grow every day. But not a whole lot has changed since we were named to the position.
Were there any major kind of unforeseen bumps in the road that you guys maybe didn't expect that you kind of had to work through?
No, the biggest thing is just now taking some of the things that we didn't see Coach Morris do in terms of the organization and divvying those responsibilities up. You know, that's probably the most conversation. But in terms of from a football standpoint, it's very similar to how it was prior to us being named because we were heavily involved in the game planning. So the biggest thing is just getting used to the separation of the responsibilities from a managerial standpoint.
Going back to the offensive line, God forbid something happens to Mitch, but he tweaks an ankle during a game. Do you trust one of the freshmen to come in? Do you slide back over? What happens at that point?
Right, again, you got, obviously, Mack is a very experienced guy that's played a little bit of tackle. You got Joe Gore that you could move. Fru Morgan is really coming on. And like I said, Taylor Hearn really, really impressed us throughout camp with his ability to play tackle. So we feel good, you know, about our tackle situation if something were to happen to Joe or to Mitch.
What's Maverick versus?
You know, Maverick has played a little bit of tackle. You know, he's settling in at guard, but he's another guy that we've cross-trained, and he could be a guy that if we got into a situation, we can put him out there at tackle. But I'd say right now, obviously, you got Mitch, Joe, Jake, and then Taylor Hearn are the guys right now.
Behind Ryan, who looks like the second option at center?
Jay Guillermo. You know, Jay's really, really come on. He came back to camp. He hadn't played for a while, but he's gotten himself in shape. He's moving well. He's got a new look on life, got a new attitude. He's a pleasure to be around. He and I got a little bit of a fun relationship going. For some reason, you know, he's kind of clean to me since he came back, but it's good. It's good to see him at the place in his life where he is, and now he's able to get back to doing what he loves and play football.
Is Hyatt steadily moving forward in the progress you hope to see out of a guy that's thrown into the fire of you guys?
Oh yes, and that was a tough situation. You know, obviously he came here with hopes and expectations of being the starter, but he didn't expect it to happen that fast. Obviously he thought it was going to be a camp situation where he had to beat out Isaiah Battle, and then now you get thrown in the fire and you're blocking Shaq Lawson, and we all know how good Shaq is. And so you would think a guy that took his lumps, you know, mentally, you know, may not be able to recover as quickly, but I tell you what, he's never backed down. He gets better every day, and now you're starting to see where, you know, he feels confident going out there blocking Shaq. And again, it's a battle every day, but you're starting to see more confidence, and he's starting to use his technique a little bit better.
That whole offensive line has been pretty maligned the last couple of years. Based on who you have right now, do you see vast improvement, steady improvement? What's your take on that group?
It's like I said, it's a lot of improvement, and the biggest thing is just with the infusion of the young talent. You know, they brought a different mindset. You know, you're talking about Mitch Hyatt, whose uncle played here. You know, he's grown up around the game. You're talking about Jake, whose dad played in the NFL, played at the University of Alabama. You know, Noah is a local guy, you know, that's very, very serious about football. And then you got Zach Giella coming in. And so those guys have really upped the level of preparation, just the culture in that room, just the nastiness, the toughness that you expect out of offensive line, because it's important to them. And Robbie's done a really, really good job of giving those guys, you know, an opportunity to go compete and really, really change that environment in that room.
Coach Sweeney talked the other day about the desire to redshirt Adam Choice. What would it take for that to change?
You know, obviously it's a situation where you got to stay healthy, and we'll travel 5 backs, so we'll have 5 guys, and I think it'd be a situation if you lost 1 or 2 of those guys to a significant amount of time, then you'd have to get him ready to play. But where Adam is I think physically he's ready. I think mentally he's working himself to get there, you know, consistently on a daily basis. I think with the ball he's fine. It's just without the ball, just that confidence and that need to step in there and pass protection and just generating power. From that standpoint, he's just not quite as confident there.
Fairly or not, going into this season, Deshaun carry the label of injury prone. Coach Sweeney's talked about it, Deshaun's talked about how it's probably not a fair label, but is it something you've had to help him overcome, and have there been any things that you've done to help alleviate the possibilities?
You know, now that I think about it, I think I may have had one conversation about him, just said, how's the knee, how's it feeling? It's great. But other than that, with Deshaun, what makes him special is he plays on the edge. And I think if you take that away from him and you start to make him think that he's injury prone, then you're going to take what makes him special away from him. So I have had one conversation just to see how he's doing throughout the course of camp, but really haven't focused on that as much because, again, I don't want to take away what makes him special and his ability to play on the edge. And like he said, let's go get it. When he's ready to go get it, then you can't take that away from him.
So if he hurdles somebody, you'll win some. I'll look the other way.
Obviously, I think we'll kind of have that momentary holding of our breath, but at the end of the day, that's what makes him special, and you can't take that away from him. It's the same thing with Choice, getting Choice back in there and pushing him just as hard. Understand that structurally everything's fixed. The biggest thing for you is just that mental hurdle, and I don't think that Deshaun's had that mental hurdle at all.
You mentioned Noah Green. Where's he stand in the pecking order? Is there a chance he could wind up redshirting?
You know, he's a guy that with where we're at, we feel like we could probably get a redshirt year for him. But again, that could change just depending upon how we stay healthy up front.
Anything else for Coach Elliott, guys? All good?
All right, appreciate it, fellas.
Thank you.